Ino tātou. Nā mihi o te rā, te whānau e hui hui nei. Kia tau te rangi mārie, kia whakatāpua tātou me ngā mea, e whakapono ana tātou, humiai, huiei, tākiei. And our whakatauki for today, ko te aruhei o te tamaiti, arahia o tātou mahi. Let the uniqueness of the child guide our work. And we'll just start with introductions. Kia ora, ko Fiona Harkness-Aho. I'm a practice lead in cluster. Just hand over to Hamish to introduce himself.
Kia ora koutou, ko Hamish Aotearoa toku ingoa, reporting live from a school today. So I'm very excited about that. Love being part of this team and really looking forward to hearing.
Kia ora, Kelly McGowan toku ingoa, I'm cluster manager for cluster 33. I'm a bit under the weather today, so we'll see how things go.
Kia ora, I'm Dawn Walker, RTLB Cluster 4 on the North Shore of Auckland, and Tara would normally be with us, but she is doing jury service at the moment, so she can't be present.
Hola, Debbie Schnell, toko ingoa in Cluster 36, a CPS advocate, and soon to be on my way in that Aotearoa coaching process.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Anthony Stanford toku ingoa, no Aotearoa Aho.
Kia ora koutou, ko Joe Cookboni tuku ingoa no Aotearoa. I'm from Cluster 39 and I'm proud to be part of this amazing PLN team. Moving on to housekeeping. Please mute unless sharing. We are recording this session and we will share it with you. Let's connect, inspire and uplift each other. And add any gems partai to the chat throughout the session, and we will be keeping a record of these to guide our next webinar. And our agenda, we're going to be doing a recap, key learnings and reflections, Whakamahi and Whai Whakaaro, discussion, what's next, and then we'll end on a karakia. And the recap.
Right, I'll jump in. Thanks heaps, Joe. So we just wanted to just do we're aware that we may have people that are new to the role, new to the RTLB role, have just newly discovered our awesome CPS at Opu. So we just wanted to do a quick recap. And what I've done is I've popped the links into these three parts so that you can easily follow them and have a look if this is new to you. So just wanted to read what we've been doing this year is we have been following through the He Pikorua connection with CPS. Kelly McGowan and Hamish Aotearoa had done an amazing piece of work to draw those connections. And so each webinar, we've stepped through the different phases of He Pikorua as it aligns to CPS, which for me has been an amazing opportunity to go, that's how that might connect. So I really value the work that they've done. So what I've done is I've linked there the slides that they put together and that we reference. So each of our webinars this year has been a different phase. We started with whakawhanaungatanga. We were incredibly lucky, privileged to have Ross Green himself present that one and introduce the Aotearoa Educator Pathway. So that's the other thing that we reference throughout. And that's, again, the work that Kelly and Hamish and a team have done working with Ross. As you know, Kelly will say it better than me, but she basically collared Ross at a dinner and went, well, you do all of this amazing work, you inspire educators, and then you bugger off back to Maine. And what next? Leave us to try and make sure that there's that fidelity and that we're honouring the process. And we as a team really believe that there is huge power in this model in changing lives. it's not a coincidence that his site is called Lives in the Balance. And what we didn't want to see, and what Kelly very much didn't want to see, was that people going, oh, yeah, tried that, didn't work. But it was around there being a lack of fidelity to the framework. And we can see massive benefits in terms of it as a school-wide initiative too. So they've done that work around developing an Aotearoa Educator Pathway, because also we didn't want to do a lift and shift, or they recognised it needed to be a fit for Aotearoa. Amazing piece of work. And then the other thing that we've done through is we've referenced the AI tool, and we spoke to that at greater length last time and really encourage you to have a look at that. That's a fantastic wee scaffold for really getting the hang of, in a safe space, a hang of how you might frame those conversations. And they're continually working on improving that, adding more features. So really do encourage you to jump back in on that. Our previous slides, that's been covered in quite a lot of detail. So that's our framework. Throughout, we've had the amazing team, particularly Debbie, Dawn and Tara, who's not here, and with Kelly and Hamish, pulling through those real life examples, the work they've actually been doing, and being incredibly generous and sharing amazing frameworks. I love the script tool that they've created, the one that Debbie set up for us last year about how to get your unsolved problem. Are great tools for us, and we all the way through, it's that Aotearoa landscape. So it's been incredibly important to go, well, this is actually what it looks like and sounds like in practice in Aotearoa. And so that's a quick recap. It's kind of how we've journeyed through the year, as we've had these really rich conversations about collaborative practice solutions. Sorry, so I will just now hand over to Kelly and Sylvia.
Oh, kia ora te whānau. So I think it was beginning of this year, we were kind of challenged to perhaps have a go at pre-cert. So I think it's really important to point out that, Ross is clear that we shouldn't really be training other people outside of our building if we're not certified. And I was kind of like, oh, I know this is all good. I was doing a bit of shifting the lens kind of conversations, but I think that it wasn't until that I went through pre-cert that I realized actually how much I didn't know. So I just want to reiterate the importance of not jumping out and training other people before you've kind of put yourself through the rigor of the certification process. Ross has kind of, and Cynthia have kind of been on to us about doing the pre-cert, so I wasn't going to do it alone, so I pulled Sylvia in with me. Sylvia will join me in a minute. And we did it actually was started, it's supposed to be 10 weeks, but it actually ended up being a lot longer than that because we needed to create some space in between to get our Plan B conversations recorded and sent in so that they could be unpacked and then feedback given. So I guess it's important to remember that if you are heading towards pre-cert, that it isn't coaching. It is proving that you are good enough to go through to the certification training, and that's exactly what it is. It's not about it's not coaching. It's not designed to. I mean, we do get lots of feedback, but the idea is that you should be at that quite high standard of being able to do an exceptional ASAP. Write some exceptional Plan B, exceptional unsolved problems, which aren't clumped and that don't, contain any adult assumptions and that are completely upstream, all of those things, as well as being able to do a mint Plan B with a young person. So what we were, I guess, challenged to do is you start with the ASAP. We had to do a couple of ASAPs and send in those written up, as well as a ASAP checklist. We were given, I think there was 3 opportunities to do that. We also had to do a sound recording of the we had to do a sound recording of an ASAP, and that was also kind of marked as well. And we got feedback from that. And then we moved on to the Plan B conversations, which were that we needed to have, we had 5 opportunities to get 2 near perfect Plan B conversations. And what that looked like was a perfect, empathy step, which included, lots of drilling strategies, and using the right drilling strategies in the right moments. Then we are absolutely spot on adult concern, and then an absolute spot on, now we need to, the invitation step, I should say. And there were some real subtleties in there that I thought I knew, but I didn't know. And that now that I know them, make that conversation so much more robust, I guess. And so I think that, I'll pass it over to Sylvia and just see what she would like to kind of add about the key learnings that we had.
Kia ora koutou, ko Sylvia toko ingoa. I'm a practice leader in Cluster 33 alongside Kelly. And yes, I think, I guess I'm just going to talk about my CPS journey so far, and it's been for about the last 5 years, from finding out about CPS to now doing the pre-cert alongside Kelly. I think the number one thing for me was having a buddy, having Kelly there. And it was about celebrating successes and also having that person just encouraging you along when you felt like things maybe weren't quite going so well. The way it's set up, as Kelly's mentioned, it's not about being coached into how to do the basics. There is an expectation that you have done quite a bit of practice. Even when you register, they're asking for your experience up to now. And I, like Kelly, we thought, yeah, we've got this. I've listened to Ross twice, and I've listened to his videos, and I thought I was pretty well versed, but the learning was fast and furious. Now, I've never seen one of those movies, but I can imagine what that might be like. So it was certainly, it was fast, furious. And like Kelly said initially, the time frame was a barrier to us, where they wanted a turnaround of 1 week. We would meet with Kim on a Wednesday morning. We really only had Thursday, Friday to then do a new recording, which had to be then submitted by the Monday lunchtime. So you really didn't have long, and we found that was a little stressful. So, and I guess if I consider the enablers or the things that were positive, is that Kim was really reflective on actually what's going to work for you guys. So we were able to stretch it out and have 2 weeks between sessions. What was also really helpful for me was having the group, because that was a 5 of us, Kelly, I think, 5 of us in the group, and you upload your all your paperwork and your recordings into a Dropbox, and you can actually access someone else's recording unless they work for the ministry, because they don't do Dropbox, and also look at their paperwork. And I found that quite helpful, just when I may have had some feedback around something I needed to work on. So then to listen to someone else's recording where Kim had said, look, Kelly, you did this really well. So then I could listen to Kelly's recording. So that was really helpful. The coach was always available between sessions. I never actually tapped into that, and maybe that's something I could have done. And I think the biggest, I guess, enabler for me was jumping into this, but actually getting the feedback from the kids as we were doing the recordings, and how great it was for them. And I think that's what kept me going, even at times when I'm like, I don't think I'm going to pass this, because I didn't get my near perfect recordings until the last 2 sessions. So, just letting you know. As Kelly said, it was about proving our competence around CPS. So, and also that you needed to show that you had acted on the feedback that you were given. So for me, some of the feedback that I had from my recordings was around getting better at prioritizing the child's concerns. So I had to act on that in the next recording, how I worded my invitation step, and even the drilling techniques I use, because I have some that I really love, particularly summarizing and tabling. They come very naturally to me. So I needed to really focus on using some of the other drilling techniques, and you need to show those throughout your recordings. So, but that was really helpful. to sort of have a focus. And yet when it comes to sitting down with the kid, doing your plan B, and you push that button, you go, oh, what was the feedback I had again? What am I meant to be focusing on? So those are just, little stressful moments. What else have I got? Oh, I think the other thing, if you are looking at pre-cert, is you need to look at your capacity. I'm a practice leader. I have a caseload. We have other responsibilities within the cluster. And there were times when not having access to kids was really tricky. And I was at a point where I said to Kelly, I feel like I'm hustling for plan B conversations. I'd have a new request for support. I'm going, great, that one will be good for plan B. And it started to feel a little like I was forcing plan B onto my cases. So being really mindful of that as well. And also having access to the adults, although it's not a requirement for pre-cert to have the adult in the room to share their adult concerns, which I only found out after about session 5. It does help. So when you are sharing the concern on behalf of the adult, it never quite lands the same. So that was the other thing, I think, for me, was not being able to always have access to the adult. And there were a couple of times when I was led down a bit of a garden path by the adult concern, or even just by the wording of the unsolved problem, which took a long time. Like one kid was an hour and 20 minutes. We finally got there, but that was a really long plan B. Like, when we've nailed it, it was down to sort of 20 minutes. What else have I got here? Then I thought I'd be really clever and I'd pre-record some sessions. So going, okay, so I've got 4 lined up this week. I'm going to use that one in 2 weeks' time. But actually, again, that doesn't work because you needed to act on the feedback that you were given. And so I have got a lot of recordings, but very much had to do that based on the feedback I had. Kelly, is there anything else I haven't sort of covered?
I think you've nailed it, like you nailed pre-cert.
I think for me, it is a real taonga to have these conversations. If nothing else, pre-cert has made me, I'm really humbled by having had the opportunity, both for me as a learner, but also for the difference we've been able to make for some of our students. So whether that's pre-cert or coaching, it is definitely something that has changed how I guess view things, how I view the world. And so that was been really amazing. And doing the training with Ross, absolutely, you need to do it, but that is just the first step. I think some people feel once they've done the 2-dayer, they've looked at lives in the balance, they're ready. You're not ready yet. Like Kelly alluded to, there's some very subtle ways of, it's not even how you ask the questioners, but how you listen and then how you use that information to keep drilling. And see, one thing, I think, Kelly, you might agree, what we learned was that you don't add the initial unsolved problem into the very last step, which is when you go to come up with a solution. And that took us a little bit of time to remember, actually, we don't, if the unsolved problem was, I don't know, Sylvia's having difficulty feeding the cat each morning, you don't bring that up when you come to the last step. And that took me, a bit of time to figure out. So I guess for me, where to from here, I'd actually like to do the coaching only to keep the practice up, because I'm not yet ready to go into certification. A number of factors contributing to that. So want to do the coaching. I actively engage with the AI tool. I use it about 3 times a week to keep up with my drilling, because the feedback is so good now that I'm like, oh, darn, I thought I had that nailed. And and the coach gives you really good feedback on how you made a better worded your question, and also what you're missing. So that's been really good. Absolutely, practice makes permanent. Practicing CPS plan Bs on the go, even when I'm in classrooms. I know there's a child having a difficulty, I might just have that conversation. I always check with the teacher and go, hey, would it be okay if I had a wee chat? And we're able to solve some problems quite quickly, just by, engaging in the process at a very light touch. I listen to all the podcasts that I can find. Some are really hard to hear, but there's some great ones that Ross and Kim and Jennifer do for parents. And, you know, Ross just has this way of coming in with something you're like, again, I thought I had it nailed. And then he'll go, I'm just wondering about this. And you think, I hadn't thought of that. So you really need Ross to sit on your shoulder all the time. And there's some really good Vimeo clips that are oldies but goodies, if you can find those, you know, watching those. And also having your drilling sheets and your visuals there for you. Like I have the drilling technique in photo form with me all the time, and also telling the kid about what I'm doing. So I'm really transparent. It's not a secret. Actually, I'm learning about this. I'm trying to figure out a better way for us to solve this problem, but I need these prompts to help me. And one of the things I've said to a student that I'm seeing next week after the holidays is, I'm going to try really hard not to ask you a why question, because I know why questions aren't part of CPS and I have to catch myself. So he's like, right, I'm going to hold you accountable for that. So bringing the kids in on it fully as to not just the plan B, but the learning that we're doing.
That's brilliant. I think too, you could add that anytime you're doing a plan B, if you can get permission to actually tape it, to, you know, voice record it and just listen to it back, that's been the big thing for me as well, because, you know, I think I say things and then I go back and think, oh, should have tabled and I summarized, you know. So I think that's taping yourself, if you're able to do that, just on your phone, not, you know, and listen to it back has been, get used to that, get used to hearing your own voice. You know, if you want to head in this direction, because that's been really useful as well. Oh, thank you so much, Sylvia. That's brilliant. That's really good information.
I could keep going, you know me.
I know you could.
You for
and
the
I know
opportunity.
Hamish has to go, and he's in charge doing whakamahi. Hamish, are you still there?
Still here, thank you. Ngā mihi nui, kōrua. That is so good hearing that. Thanks, Sylvia and Kelly, and all those top tips that you kind of only learn those things through doing. So that's a real taonga that you're able to share that. I say this because I start my pre-certification on Friday. So I'm going to have Sylvia and Kelly on my phone on hot dial and say, oh, I'm struggling with this, please help me out. And I guess that's what I love about having a PLN or community of practice, is that we are all learners, right? And this is the process of our course, that we have this beautiful opportunity to have a journey, to be able to explore where we are at with our thinking and our practice. I wanted to awhi Anthony's blurb, which is a beautiful piece around that whole giving it a red hot go. And yeah, we will have times where we don't necessarily produce our best piece of work or our best collaborative experience together, but we will do better next time, because that's what we keep aspiring to do. So very quickly, and again, apologies, I've got to go, but with regards to the whakamahi stage or phase within He Pikorua, this is where we are actually doing the mahi for putting in place all that great work that we've done with regards to the Plan B conversations, and really nailing down those unsolved problems so that they're not clunked and everything. And the great thing about this space is that it's a time to do what we do well. I mean, as educators, we're really good at implementing supports to meet students more kapuna where they're at. And I guess a common theme that having kōrero with practitioners is that a lot of the time when we reflect on the unsolved problems, it's actually up to the adult to do a lot of change in their own practice, right? The way that we have always done things. If it worked so well, then we would keep doing what we've always done, right? But we're realizing that actually, by way of meeting kids where they're at, and being able to reconsider how we approach unsolved problems, we start realizing actually there's a bit of mahi I have to do as the kaiako here. So in terms of whakamahi, it's continuing to have that opportunity to support students with their skill development, to reflect along the way how we're going, and I think that's really important. Just because we have the tātai plan, it doesn't mean that we are out of the woods. It's actually the collaborative part is the checking in, and being willing to give it a go, trial whatever we've put in place, and then be willing to come back and go, actually, and I guess it's the listening part as well that's really important. Is this actually solving the problem? And being open and authentic, I guess, is one of the key things that we said about how we monitor. So yeah, it's another great place for us to practice the being early, and really helping students to be the best that they can be. Okay, I feel like I'm waffling, so I'm going to pass over the rako to Kelly, I think.
Again. Oh, kia ora. All right, so my job is to talk about Whai Whakaaro, which is, I mean, just before I do start, I think it's also important to remember that we're not trying to align CPS exactly with He Pikorua. It's not about, like, it's just that there are some, some synergy. There's some synergy between making sure that, we are, we're connecting, there's good whakawhanaungatanga, that we're maintaining the mana of the young people and the adults around the young person, that we're gathering information through the ASAP is a good tool when we're kohi, so, but it's not exactly an aligned connect. It's just about a flow, and I think that's really, really important point to sort of just to make really clear. When we're reaching out to Whai Whakaaro, I think we're reflecting together on progress, and I think that it's an opportunity to sort of sit back and go, is the plan B working for us? Is it working for everybody? It's also an opportunity to actually we can also reflect on, is this plan B actually benefiting other people? Like if the teacher maybe starting or continuing to do something amazing for this young person, is it having an impact on the wider class as well? And what other problems do we need to solve? So it's an opportunity. I think one of the things I want to point out too is that we've got to be, when we bring our teachers, our kāko with us, that at this point, this is an opportunity to make sure that their heart is in this as well. And so what I mean by that is that I've seen examples of, we've done a plan B, and then the kāko might use the plan B against the child. Well, you said you were going to do that and you're not doing it. And, as soon as you've got a teacher that's doing that, then we know that their kind of heart isn't in that collaborative, we need to do this together. If it's not mutually satisfactory solution, then we come together again and go, okay, so what's happening for us? What do we need to shift, change? It obviously it wasn't going to be a solution that was going to help us to solve that problem. So what else can we do? So I think it's, just be mindful and watch out for maybe that, in the sense that we need to not only just bring our kāko with us on this journey around the collaborative problem solving and being a problem solving partner, but also making sure that they don't jump down that, accountability. Actually, it was really a plan A. Now you've said you're going to do that. You haven't done it. So therefore, we're going to default to doing what we always do, which is, a punitive approach. So we've got to be, just watch that, be mindful of that. But this is a beautiful opportunity. This is a beautiful opportunity to be thinking about and celebrating celebrating the success, to be talking about to the young person about what's working, to be talking about how it's made a difference in their life. It's a great time to revisit the Plan C list and then prioritise maybe some Plan B conversations that may be backed up. But I want to just, the most important thing is I want to just point out, and I'm going to reference Debbie here because this is actually what she said, and when she said it, I just was like, yeah, that's so true. The whole idea is in around teaching or going down this sort of CPS is around supporting children to be learning flexibility, adaptability, problem solving, emotional regulation, and frustration tolerance. So even though we are solving a particular problem, what we're actually doing through this is teaching those skills. So take time to reflect on if you're noticing that young person has actually learned some, some flexibility, adaptability, problem solving, emotional regulation, or frustration tolerance as a process that because we've taken them through that problem solving process. We've taken them through an opportunity to be heard, that they know that they've got some adults that are supporting them, and then actually they're able to step into that space of actually, remember, this is what my plan was. This is how I'm not going to be in the heat at the moment anymore. And this is, I guess it also comes down to something which I learned through pre-cert, is that we don't solve problems so that kids are out of the heat of the moment. We want to get upstream. And to do that, we have to really tap into their thinking. So what are they thinking? What are their concepts around, not getting on with Mitchell while playing basketball? What is it that's actually driving their thinking that sits behind that? And if we can tap into their thinking, we can also help them to understand emotional regulation or frustration tolerance and build some skills in that area as well. So I think that I just wanted to really reiterate that point, that this is Whai Whakaaro is a beautiful opportunity to be going, okay, we've done the mahi, now let's reflect what changes have been made sure that actually we're all still, it doesn't let anyone off the hook as far as we're all in this together. Again, the teacher needs to be part of that ongoing reflection of the problem and whether that mutually satisfactory solution is cutting the mustard and is doing what we wanted it to do, and then looking at the impact that that's having on that young person. And that's really important, and making sure that we're actually documenting that stuff as well, so that we've got a record of how awesome. And I think that that's all I've got to say about that. Yeah, so it's my job now to put you into breakout rooms, and we're going to give you 12 minutes. Don't all scarper. We're going to give you 12 minutes to get together, and here you go. And I think it's really important to introduce yourselves, and where you're from. Maybe a couple of minutes just talking about where you're up to in your CPS journey. Feel free to reference the pathway, and then just the key question is, how do you see CPS as empowering kaiko and ākonga? And to also talk about any rocks and pockets. We talk about that in our cluster as anything that might be weighing you down, anything that's, that you've got some more, maybe some wonderings or some dark thoughts about. I don't know. You're right. This is the time to raise them so that we can address those as well. And most importantly, just choose one person to feedback. Not a big deal. It's week 10. It's not being assessed. Just have a think about, what you would like to, maybe one thing you'd like to feedback. Okay, I'll hand it over to Fiona.
Oh, kia ora, Kelly. Thank you. So yeah, I'll just set the rooms up, and we will share this slide into the room so that you've got this as a guide. But we just really wanted to give you an opportunity to really sense make. We've had lots of rich kōrero, but we wanted you to have that opportunity to connect across the country, and Hamish spoke to that really well around that opportunity to network. So I'll just do a recreate, because we do tend to have some people that for whatever reason aren't in a position to be able to join the breakout room. Hold on, I've just got to change the numbers. And just recreate. That should work. Want to just make sure no one's sitting in a room by themselves. So yeah, what about 12 minutes? So we'll see you back soon.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Great to see you. I jumped the gun there. I was out of the starting blocks too early. So really looking forward to hearing your feedback on the Pathway. If you don't mind, just if you're sharing back, just briefly share back, because we've got 6 groups to share back, and be great. So I will choose someone with their hand up. He Pikorua, how do you see CPS as empowering kaiako and ākonga, and any rocks and pockets or anything weighing you down, if you can integrate that in as well? All right, who would like to go first? With their hand up.
I haven't got my hand up, but I could go first.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know how to put my hand up, so anyway, my hand's up. So we just had quite a conversation. We didn't really get to rocks and pockets, but I guess we kind of did. One of the things the main thing that we were talking about was where we involved the teacher, and having the teacher in the room if possible when you're having that conversation, but it can also be equally powerful when the teacher's not in the room. Okay.
Right, awesome. Helen, thank you very much. Thanks for your feedback. All right, another one would like to pop their hand up.
I'm happy to talk for our group because I have to leave because we didn't decide who was going to chat. So hopefully they're okay about it. We did have lots of good discussion and we thought it was empowering, and they can jump in because I may not have taken very good notes. That great student voice, just a great way to hear the student and encourage, allow them to be heard by the teacher. And the AI tool was a really good tool to practice with. Reframing and changing the language of the teachers, but a lot of us are still, I think Trudy described it as playing in the sandpit. So we're still learning and trialing things for ourselves. Some rocks in the pocket were that it was important for us to have a relationship with the teacher, and sometimes our work, there's a time frame around it, and that can cause challenges for us. And also sharing understanding about the CPS model before we start it can be, you're trying to fit everything into your meetings with teachers. The kaiako has to be on board. So if they're not on board, it won't work. And yeah, so solving the problem together, everyone has to be on board. If my group want to add anything.
Kia pai, Beverly, some great, feedback there on a range of topics. Playing in the sandpit, yes, that's our go-to line in our cluster around giving it a go and not being afraid of making mistakes. So, yeah, really good to hear that. Thank you for sharing. All right, Katrina, you have your hand up. Can you go ahead, please?
Tēnā koutou. I hope my group don't mind me jumping in here. We just ran out of a bit of time at the end to decide who would do it. We didn't exactly stick to the questions, but I think there were 2 main themes coming through. We talked about the importance of how it's set up in the very early stages with your service negotiation. It's really important that the team know the approach we're thinking of taking, and there's some kind of agreement that the teacher is going to be given time and space to have the conversations, whether that's with the RTLB or as part of collaborative problem solving. And then we had a second big theme around The benefits are not just for the child, but also for the teacher. So, for example, around perspective taking, and also the ripple effect. So, in the same way that solving those early problems can flow through to the additional problems, the solutions for those initial problems for that student can also benefit other students in the class. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Katrina. Well, I've been blown away by everyone's feedback this morning, and what I like what you said, Katrina, doing the, well, you didn't actually use this term, but it came to mind for me, doing the mahi before the mahi. All that pre-planning around CPS is important, so everyone is on the team given the big picture of what that looks like, and that can take significant time. And you mentioned the ripple effect, and I guess, yeah, that's what we're trying to do with CPS, isn't it? To promote that ripple effect, not just for the student in front of us, but for others, as Kelly alluded to earlier. All right, awesome. Anyone else like to jump in?
I'm just going to put my hand up, so I'm not quite sure how to put my hand up.
Yeah.
I'll speak for the group that I popped into. They were just having some discussion, and I think this question can go back to the team. Some clarity around if they follow the pathways, which they're doing, if some teachers in the school did the coaching, can they then support teachers in the school to use the CPS model, or do they have to do the pre-cert?
No. So if you are, I mean, if you are, if you've done the coaching, that's great. I think that's a really important first step, but you can weave this through your own practice, as you know, as we've been talking about, without having done the coaching, but just be really mindful of the fact that, you know, you're upfront about that, and that, you know, we've been saying in our cluster, like, you know, I'm really keen to, you know, to see what this child, you know, what this young person has got to offer as far as their input into the conversation. So, you know, let's find out some more information from them. Let's just use plan B. And, you know, we've just been trialing that. So we've just been saying that, you know, this is something new. This is something we'd like to try. Are you up for it? And they have been. So I think the most important thing that we don't do is stand up in front of the masses in a staff room and talk about, this is how we train, you know, directly CPS. I think that's really, you know, this is we've kind of talked around the edges, like we talk about shifting the lens, but I'm just wondering about that, you know, that real technical, this is how you do an ASAP, that sort of stuff, I guess is we just got to be a bit careful about that. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Dawn?
The people in the breakout room, does that answer your question? So I guess if 6 teachers in a school did the coaching, they could then support the model in the school.
Totally.
Yeah, okay. So
Totally.
following the pathways is the right thing to do, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
The safest thing to do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I know that we've, you know, because this is why we want to get this information out there, and we want to create a sort of a bit of a momentum. We're kind of walking quite close to that line sometimes. But just making sure that we're making sure that we are delivering whatever we're delivering with fidelity. And if we are still in that sandpit, as we talk about, that we're really honest about that too. That has to be clear. I think too, I just want to pick up on the point that, you know, you don't have to do like the plan B conversation, the ASAP and the plan B conversation to shift, you know, subtly the conversations that we do have. So I think that, you know, there's always space within our casework to be talking about difficulties as opposed to behaviours and modifying them. And I think that starts the minute we walk in at whakawhanaungatanga, and our, you know, and as Katrina mentioned, how we, you know, we negotiate what our practices are going to be or how we turn up, that we can be talking about, again, not behaviours and modifying them, but actually what are the difficulties or what are the expectations this young person's having difficulty meeting. You can be doing that stuff like without even mentioning CPS. You know, you can be taking people down that track in a way, because what we know is that, you know, if we're looking at, you know, why a young person is, you know, turning up with challenging behaviour is because they can't meet those expectations reliably. And so knowing that, you can still have those conversations without going, all right, let's do an ASAP, right, let's do a plan B. You can, so don't feel that just because someone's given you a back off or not interested doesn't mean we still can't have those subtle conversations. And I just wanted to pick up on that point about having the teacher there. Yeah, sometimes it's really good not to have the teacher there because the kid might be more honest, but then that leaves you in a really tricky situation of being able to implement something that actually the teacher isn't kind of aware of as well. So I just wanted to, what we found is, I did plan Bs without the teacher there, and then I had to, when we've got the invitational step, we're only halfway around that, like we came up with a particular solution to a problem, but then I said, well, now I've got to go and check in with the teacher and make sure that that's doable for them. And so it kind of does hold up that whole process. And I think having the teacher there, what that does is it brings the teacher with you on that journey. If you don't bring the teacher with you on that journey, you have a plan B conversation, you go back to the teacher and you might say, look, this is what we discussed, this is what happened. But then the teacher will say, I don't believe you, or I'm not going to do that because they weren't part. The empathy step is called the empathy step for a reason. It really pulls out the heart of what is going on for that young person. And without that teacher experiencing that empathy step, it could jeopardize, it could, make it the solution or ongoingness of the connection between the teacher and the ākonga. It could just compromise that. So I do genuinely think that you need to be really, every situation is different, but I think that don't put yourself in a situation if you don't have the teacher there, that you've got information now that's about what the teacher's is or not doing, and now what do you do with that? So that puts you in that compromise kind of a situation. So I just wanted to raise that as well through our learnings. I know Sylvia feels the same about that too. Yeah. Anyway.
Thanks very much, Kelly. And yes, you raise a really important point. Yeah, having that kaioko there alongside you to develop that empathy together for the student. All right, well, we'll just move on. So what's next? In terms of Connect, encourage a colleague to join CPS webinar who's not joined before. That would be really awesome. Inspire, try the AI tool. Sylvia talked about that. Kelly, really good tool. So delve into that. Notice what were the benefits for you. And just thinking about the power of one in terms of Uplift, sharing one CPS book. If you're new to CPS, delving into Lost at School, looking at a CPS quote, promoting a visual with an educator or colleague. Our next session, as you can see there, is to be confirmed. We'll send out specific details once we know the date. Thanks, Fee. And many of you have already joined RTLB Aotearoa in terms of our website. So there's a scanning link there to join our group. So that would be awesome if you haven't already done so. I'll encourage a colleague to. And I'm just going to hand over to Fee for closing karakia.
Good, thanks, Anson. Thanks to the whole team. Awesome session. Yeah, I'll just close. Kia tau te manaakitanga, ki ronga, ki tēnā o tātou. Kia piki te ora, kia piki te maramatanga, kia hoki pai atu, kia hoki pai mai, tūturu whakamaua, kia tēnā, haumie, huie, tākie. Go well. Only 2 more sleeps. Have a great rest of the week and really enjoy your term 3 break.